Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage number 35-270 S123. This is a Schlage Everest Key Blank is what it is. $35,270 is, sorry, I was looking for the Everest logo. It's right here. If you see a little mountain on your key blank, that'll tell you it's Everest. It could also tell you it's Everest. It could also be Primus Everest as well. And the Everest system, and I'm no expert when it comes to Everest, but I've studied it and read about it, keyed it, serviced it. The Everest line is a natural, and it's available in open keyways, restricted keyways, small format stuff can be done. It's a natural evolution out of the Schlage classic keyways. Your C, your E, CE, F, EF, G, FG? Did I screw one of those? Yeah, 7 of them, yeah. FG, G and FG. A natural evolution out of that. All new commercial systems are going to be supplied with an Everest keyway, or all new commercial locks. Now, you can obviously get them in Schlage C forever. That won't be a problem. It's just, I would imagine, according to Schlage, they'd like to evolve their product line and give you a more up-to-date keyway. And the Everest is most certainly up-to-date. It's been around for I don't know how many years, probably 20 or 25, I forget, maybe 20. And it is a natural evolution. And what evolves about the Everest Key Blank is the obvious evolution. It is a callback to the standard bow that we're all familiar with. And it still kind of looks like that, even though it's clearly larger and has evolved. It has this large prep here, which Schlage tells us is not at all going to compromise the security of this key blank. And in fact, it's stronger than a comparable original, like that would be a 35-101 if it was just a regular classic key blank. But it has this undercut side milling that's been done here. That's because in the Everest system there's what's called a check pin. The check pin is a device that is governed by a spring in the rear of the cylinder, so that when you insert the key into the broaching, the undercut nature of this side bit milling is going to engage that check pin and move it to a position where the cylinder can operate. So now not only do you have the pin tumblers needing to satisfy a shear line at the top of the cylinder plug, but you have the check pin needing to satisfy a shear line at the bottom of the cylinder plug in the back or nearest the tip of the key. And that's what this little prep here is going to do. This is all cut out over here because they don't want any material left here for any other work to be done by this key that it's not intended to do, so they'll cut that out. That's a reference to Primus. This is what a box of 50 looks like. Okay. This is called Everest 29, in fact. It's an evolution out of the Everest system. The S123 is a typical keyway. What we're going to do now is switch to the screen view where we can take a look at some supporting documentation. So, not much to see on this page, but the link here to the manufacturer's catalog page is where we're going to find a lot of information. I don't believe I've watched this video. I think this is Walter Schlage. Oh, maybe this is Walter Schlage. And he had a business partner. He was the lock wizard, he was known, but he wasn't a financial genius, even though I'm sure that he was. But he did bring in a business partner because growth is very difficult in businesses because you're growing so rapidly that cash flow doesn't stick up and keep up. I'm not aware of the company history, but I know that there was a business partner brought in. There is on this manufacturer's page a lot of information. Let's just go first directly to the Everest. The most current document I have is the Everest full-size cylinder service manual from 2014. That's the document you're going to want to dive into. If you want to know everything about the world of Everest, here's the document. That check pin is clearly shown right here. That little check pin is going to ride right inside this undercut milling here. It's going to rest on this plateau in order for that pin to be lifted, because when the key is not inserted, that spring is pushing that check pin down into a hole that's in the cylinder back here that we'll probably be able to see shortly. Now, the introduction to the Everest system is a great place to start because it will talk about where it came from. Here's that hole for the check pin, even though that's a hotel cylinder. There's that check pin hole. When the key's not inserted, that check pin is sticking down in that hole. You can't turn the cylinder plug. Everest 29 is the natural evolution of the Everest system. I won't read this to you. I'll leave it to you to read. But you can do the Everest 29 R in R, S, and T keyways, which are backwards compatible with the original Everest B, C, and D keyways, which are a reference to small format, restricted, commercially available. The S is a commercially available. And here's the area where we talked about the mechanism by which the check pin is lifted. Okay, right there. That's all removed so that it can't work any other cylinder. You can do Everest 29 in restricted keyways. That would be a T keyway, and we're doing an S keyway here. We can also do a C keyway, but the T keyway, if you wanted to order a restricted keyway from Schlage, you can do that, which means that in order to get service on that, the paperwork that you would submit in the future would need to line up and match the way that the system was originally created at the factory. So be mindful. If you want to have a restriction over who can get key blanks and extend your keying system, you'll want to go that route. And I've had clients thoroughly understand the process of getting new equipment ordered, new key blanks or cylinders ordered in a restricted keyway, that they know how the routine is, that paperwork has to be drafted, sent to the factory for review and approval, originals have to be mailed in, all the way to the opposite end of people not wanting to tolerate any of that aspect when it comes to doing the work to submit paperwork in a restricted system. The bottom line is if you have inherited or you have started a restricted key system, you will not get service without doing the work. And I do acknowledge it's a frustrating procedure. Imagine me, I do it all the time on behalf of clients. But you want that. And the reason you want the work to be done and verified is because someone invested a lot of money to protecting their key system. Restricting access to key blanks, which is how Medico is so completely successful. You might be able to buy that Medico lock on an online flea market, but good luck getting key blanks. That's the problem. Restricting the access to key blanks is why someone spent a lot of money to set up a restricted system in the first place. So be mindful of that. That it's protecting those that want that safeguard in place. So you can read about the different keyways, the mechanical overview showing what that key blank looks like and works. And this is a great example of it. No key blank installed. That check pin's sitting down there. You stick that key blank in and it lifts the check pin, and now it will get out of the blockage is removed, and that's what a key does. It removes a blockage, and that check pin is a blockage. Just scrolling through, I'm not going to talk about all the nuances of the cylinder. Their full-size interchangeable core can be done in Everest. We just did a nice job in the Everest, in this keyway, in fact, S123. What I want to be able to do is to get to the depth and spacing data and talk about the key blanks. Service equipment is almost not needed at all for this. Your standard material will work. I believe there's an Everest keyway that you need to have an upgraded jaw kit. This S123 did not require our Blue Punch to be upgraded, but I think the S145 you have to have the upgraded jaw kit to get that key blank to fixture properly in the tool. They talk about servicing the cylinder if you needed to. All right, now this page is the DSD, the depth and spacing data for the Everest system. So if you're going to pin the material, service it at all, need to order pins or springs, this is where you will get all that data from. It will give you all the important information to service the material. Your Blue Punch talk if you needed to upgrade that. Now you'll notice that our S123 did not require our machine didn't, because our machine is about 18 years old, and I was able to, and it worked just perfectly. Machines made before July 99 were not designed to hold Everest keys because Everest keys really weren't around, right? So you might need to upgrade your jaw if you have a Blue Punch. But I would call ProLock with your serial number and ask them, how old it is. My machine has this black L handle. The upgrade, I believe, has a red turn handle. I like my black L handle. It gives me more ability to control the key. I'm just used to it, I suppose. More talk about how to cut those keys. Really important. That S145 is the trouble with that. And the milling is where you need to grab that key. Now, Everest key blanks. We got a 35270 here. Okay. 35270. Standard front for S family. Plain. Sorry. 35270 has a standard front on one blank, on one face. The opposite side is blank, exactly as ours is, except the 35272, which of course is plain on both sides, except that it removes what is the 35272, I think, will have its patent data and do not duplicate. So our 35270 is the back, does not have any of that do not duplicate on it. Okay? So you want to be mindful of whether or not it says that. If you need do not duplicate stamped on the key blank, you would be able to stamp that here or have it stamped here. This is the multiplex structure in the Schlage S keyways. It's an open family, meaning a distributor such as myself can order it for someone like you. There's no paperwork necessary. It's not restricted. There is no restriction to someone purchasing this key blank. I don't think you're going to call your lumber yard or your favorite neighborhood big box home improvement store and get S-series key blanks. They're great people, and I'm in those stores all the time, naturally. But it's not where you'll buy Everest from, Everest 29 from. The S123 is the stock commercial keyway. That's where it's going to start. The S145 would be a master key system, is where they're going to start here. The purpose of this diagram is showing you that this is a multiplex structure. 2, 4, 6, 8. There are 10 keyways down here. You can order cylinders in any of these 10 keyways. Above there, these 3, these 2, and this 1, those are key blanks only, not cylinders. The multi-section blank, as inferred, the S120 will fit into an S125, 124, or 123. Okay? The S123 can also be operated by the S230. The S200 will operate, the S200 and the S100 will operate in S123, and the other items that it will operate. The S000 is the all-section blank, which will pass all of these broachings and all of these cylinders. Okay? Why is that important? It may not be to you, and it probably isn't in most instances, but where you would use a multiplex structure would be for 2 reasons. Not to get too deep into the woods, but a Schlage 6-pin system is going to give you 4,096 theoretical change keys. Not getting into how that number is derived. If you were to dive into master keying, you would ultimately learn how that number is derived. Well, let's say if you had a campus where you needed 7,000 keys, or whatever the number is, more than 4,096. That's theoretical, by the way. You could cut, let's just for sake of ease, say that you had 3 dorm rooms and each one of them needed 2,500 keys. You could put S123 in one dorm room, S234 in a different dorm room, S235 in the third dorm room. You could walk around with the S230 blank to operate all of those. And the reason we're breaking it up into keyways is because you need 2,500 actual keys for each dorm room, for each building. And you can't get that quantity out of a single keyway. You might be able to, but you really need 7,500 keys because you've got 3 dorm rooms and you need 2,500 each. So you're going to break that up into different keyways. The S123 won't enter the S234 broaching. That key blank will not go into that cylinder. That key blank won't go into that cylinder, and so on. But the S230 will pass all 3 of them. So you can operate that as an engineering key, an emergency key, a master key, whatever it is. So you would use different keyways if you needed to accomplish a greater quantity of usable biddings for your system, or you could use it as security, or you would use it for both reasons at the same time. Let's say that you had a 3-story building and you were the owner of the building and you had 3 tenants, a law firm, a design architectural firm, and you had a consulting firm, whatever. You could have different keyways on each floor. The first floor can't go to the second floor, the third floor can't go to the first floor, whatever it is. And for security purposes, someone on the third floor has no business to be in any door on the second floor, so their key won't even go in that cylinder. But the owner can walk around with the S230 multi-section blank. Now you can take that concept and expand it even bigger. Let's say you needed 15,000 keys, or whatever the case might be. You could also have what's called a simplex. This cylinder, the S345, will not be entered by, will not be shared in a multiplex structure by any other key blank. Only this all-section key blank would enter it. Why you would need a simplex, and the term simplex is used to say this keyway does not participate in a multiplex structure, would be in a hospital where you have all kinds of different doors, all kinds of different requirements, but the narcotics or the pharmacy door at the nurse's station where they have all of the drugs needs to be on its own keyway very commonly. That would be a simplex keyway. Okay, that'd be an example of why you'd have that. That exhausts the Everest manual in the sense of how it pertains to our key blank. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, I'm a large, unabashed fan of Schlage. It's the line that I'm most familiar with, as are probably most people who work in the door hardware industry, I would think. Most commoners like me, I would think. If you are a spec writer and you write in Sargent, you're going to use Sargent. You're not going to use Schlage, I would suppose. Maybe you're more familiar with Sargent than you would be with Schlage. Those people do exist. Nice quality key. I use Everest myself. Not really had any problems with it. What I like about Schlage, switching gears a little bit, is the fact that they've got exceptional technical support. There's a particular person at the factory that I pose my questions to, and I don't do it often because thankfully I don't have questions that often. But this gal faithfully answers every single time. She doesn't answer the question I've asked. She's answered that question and the follow-up I'm going to ask. And it's just, when you're dealing with industry professionals, such as thoroughly, manned or staffed, I should say, at Schlage, it's inspiring. It makes you want to do your job better because you're being handled by people who are such industry experts. Schlage is under the umbrella of Allegion, whose sister companies would be Schlage, and of course, LCN, Von Duprin, Glenn Johnson, Falcon, Doramatic, Ives, Zero, many other peripheral companies that don't come into my world as much. But when it comes to Schlage, LCN, and Von Duprin, just the best there is. And they're all super fantastic. The ability to confidently work with Everest or Primus or anything that Schlage does is because they've got such great technical support. Okay, and every other manufacturer has great technical support. But in order to survive as a company that sells a not high-tech but highly technical product, you need to. Any questions on the 35-270 and an S123 Keyway or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.